Looks like the nice weather's finally here.
Six Flags is getting ready for its biggest year ever. There's a new level of excitement throughout the park, and you'll feel it everywhere you go. We are 100% committed to making your day here great. Playtime is back and it's better than ever. Come out and spin, smile, and laugh your way into a new season. Six Flags, it's playtime.
There is truth in advertising, yes I swear. Got new Nikes on my feet and Vidal Sassoon in my hair. I can sure use a Budweiser Fruit of the Loom underwear. There is truth in advertising, I swear. Why would they lie to me when they love what they sell? Plus we all know that the liars have a special fire in hell. On the television, radio, and in the magazines, the advertising gods perpetuate the American dream. It's truth in advertising, let it be, let it be. Now I know that I don't need to buy everything they try to sell me, but so easily divided is a fool and his money. There is truth in advertising, let it be. Why would they lie to me when they love what they sell? Plus we all know that the liars got a special fire in hell. On the television, radio, and in the magazines, the advertising gods perpetuate the American dream.
Think about your favorite amusement park. It's probably Disneyland for most of you, and with good reason, because Disneyland is the most thematic, the most well-maintained, the most iconic certainly. But what do you really think about when you think about Disneyland? Mickey Mouse. Seeing Mickey Mouse everywhere in full-body costume and getting to hug your favorite theme park mascot. The thing is, most theme parks don't have mascots. Disneyland is really one of the only few that do. And even then, Mickey is much more a mascot of the brand itself than the park. So really, there just aren't a whole lot of theme park mascots out there. And it's not hard to understand why, because to sell a product, it makes sense to create a character whose goal is to sell you that product. But a theme park isn't really a product, or not one that you can take home anyway, so it kind of makes sense to not waste valuable marketing money creating a character people aren't really going to come to the park to see. People go to amusement parks to ride the rides. The rides are the mascots. So with that in mind, it makes a lot of sense why no company ever had a mascot for their amusement park. Except for Six Flags. In 2004, Six Flags devised an ad campaign to drum up business, and with the help of Donner Advertising, created the iconic character Mr. Six. If you grew up in the early 2000s, you're likely very familiar with Mr. Six. Appearing as an elderly man wearing a tuxedo and thick frame glasses, the ads generally have him stepping off a bus and then surprising everyone in the general vicinity by not actually being a decrepit old man, and instead busting into a frenetic dance number to the instrumental version of the Venga Boys song We Like to Party. He then invites stressed and overworked people to come have fun with him at the local Six Flags amusement park. The writer of this episode grew up about a half-an-hour drive from a Six Flags, and a friend of hers worked there for a few years, so she's extremely familiar with the park. The chain is likely the most successful amusement park, right behind the Disney parks, honestly, and Mr. Six was a big part of that. As soon as he hit the airwaves, his popularity skyrocketed, and merchandise was imminently available in the park's gift shops. I suppose I understand why, as the concept itself is so damn goofy that we can't help but enjoy his lighthearted dancing antics. It's one of the weirder mascot successes, but it's still explainable. In fact, the campaign was such a smash success that Six Flags toured the vintage bus featured in the ad to all 31 of its parks and sold shirts based on him. Mr. Six also appeared on the nationally broadcast U.S. TV morning show Good Morning America. Mr. Six was inescapable, and he was a one-trick pony to boot. Despite the ads eventually showing different variations of the concept, he was always just that weird old dancing man in a suit. It never strayed from the formula and was as on-brand as it could possibly be. The role was initially non-speaking, but eventually he gained a voice. On July 9, 2004, Six Flags Great America held a contest to find the best person to impersonate Mr. Six, whom by that time we were calling the Ambassador of Fun, a title way more awesome than it should be. And if this person could dance like him, the reward would be $2,500 and other small prizes. 200 people, all wearing Mr. Six's outfit, danced on stage, with the winner being 13-year-old Jordan Pope. Mr. Six fever was at an all-time high. Then, on November 29, 2005, only a little after a year since he hit the scene, Daniel Snyder, owner of the NFL's Washington Redskins, a man who's clearly made many good business choices, took over Six Flags, and on the very next day announced the retirement of Mr. Six by stating, "He is pointless." I don't know how one draws that conclusion when you just had 200 people cosplay as your mascot, boosting your park attendance just to have a dance contest. But then this is coming from the man who owns a team called the Washington Redskins, so what do I know? Instead, he insisted on dropping the "It's Playtime" motto and insisted that their next campaign would be called Friendly, Clean, Fast, Safe Service, because he wanted something that rolled off the tongue and really explained just how good a time you can have at the park. Despite this, Mr. Six refused to die, and the mascot was still prominently featured at the parks on merch until his eventual revival in 2009. The campaign was replaced by the More Flags, More Fun campaign. Again, a campaign that truly conveys excitement. Can you hear the sarcasm in my voice? Good. Oh, and along with this wonderfully joyful new tagline, they introduced an unnamed Asian character shouting the tagline at viewers, because hurting the Native American community wasn't bad enough for him. Racism isn't fun if you're only going after one race.
Six Flags, more fun! Have more fun close to home and take on the all-new Goliath coaster. And now, everyone pays kids price. That's right, all tickets for the kids price at sixflags.com or HEB. More flags, more fun, Six Flags!
On February 2nd, 2009, Mr. Six began appearing again in place of the still 5 years later unnamed Asian character. Clearly, they put a ton of thought into that ad campaign since they gave him such an engaging personality that people could relate to. Six Flags eventually formally announced the triumphant return of Mr. Six to promote the 2009 season opening, and he began appearing in a number of new commercials, dancing right along like his feet had never stopped. And, in addition to bringing everyone's favorite old geezer out of the coffin, they brought along, for him, a sidekick, Little Six, a much younger version of himself. Even in 2017, Mr. Six was appearing as a bobblehead in the Six Flags announcement video for the season. Not everyone was a fan, however, as Time magazine in particular described him in an opinion piece as creepy, which likely stemmed from the fact that Mr. Six isn't actually an old man, but a choreographer in a bunch of prosthetics. I wonder what those people think of their grandparents. I mean, sure, it's slightly unnerving to have a bus pull up and a seemingly ancient man bust into moves that would put anyone on America's Got Talent to shame. But nonetheless, I refuse to find an old dancing man creepy, so to each their own. Mr. Six was wildly popular with the public and tremendously helped boost attendance at the parks. And though he may not be as fondly remembered today, he's still around. I think that says all it needs to about his impact. Mr. Six also goes to show you that you cannot simply scream a catchphrase at people with a generalized caricature, especially when that's what you replace something like Mr. Six with. I think the thing that appealed to everyone about Mr. Six was that, despite it being obvious, as with every mascot, that he's there to get you to spend money, he just generally wants you to have fun. He's not pushing an agenda. He's not shoving a product directly into your eye holes. He's just dancing, and he wants you to dance with him. I think that's what made everyone love him. Because how can you hate someone who just wants you to have a good time? He's the grandfather of mascots because he's so old. And you know what they say about grandparents? You have to respect your elders. So shut up, get on the goddamn bus, and dance.